CCUS is central and will have a central role. This is how we see it at the OECD, to put our energy system on path to carbon neutrality. This has been well acknowledged. There are already plans for adding more than 100 new facilities already announced in 2021 across the world. And there's a consensus that CCUS technologies are probably one of the few solutions to tackle the decarbonization of industries, and particularly to remove carbon from the atmosphere. And on some estimate for Kazakhstan, the use of CCUS will also reduce emissions in steel, aluminum, and cement production by respectively 60%, 35%, and 48%. So definitely CCUS is one of the important technology, but it's not a silver bullet. That's important. As in OECD countries, it is seen as a bridge technology. It is not a substitute to be implemented in conjunction with many other efforts in terms of mitigation, adaptation, and work on energy efficiency, shift to hybrid fuel, and phase out of coal, particularly in industries. The numbers are there. CCS plus coal is still less competitive than using renewable. I think the numbers are quite clear. Kazakhstan has already set a target of carbon neutrality, as we all know, which is already quite an ambitious target in the region. And CCS technology will have a significant role to play. They account for roughly 6% of the total amount of investment that is foreseen, and the target is quite daunting. By 2040, the installed capacity for CCUS in Kazakhstan would be about 1.5 times the current worldwide operating capacity. So in other words, that would be 2.9 or 3 million tons per annum of CO2 that will have to be captured between 2022 and 2040. So definitely delivering on this ambition is certainly a tall order. And Kazakhstan is leading the way in Central Asia. No one has ever done it in the region and globally at this level of scale. And there's no established best practices or even blueprint for success to follow, and certainly not in Central Asia. So yes, Kazakhstan has the opportunity to lead this transition using, among others, CCUS in the region. And this transition will be experimental as well as urgent. And who knows, maybe Kazakhstan will be one of the first countries in the region to include CCS or CCUS in a revised NDC. So indeed, there is increased consensus on the amount of the investment, indeed around $650 billion over the 40-year period from 2021, I think, to 2060. This needs for investment will increase gradually, peaking in the latter period of 2055 to 2060, and by far the largest investment are needed in the electricity and heat generation sector, given the aging infrastructure and the heavy reliance on coal. By estimates of our colleagues from GIZ point to an investment in the range of 46 to 60% of the total investment. The remaining part is probably split between 1/4 in transport and the remaining roughly 1/10 or 10% in industry, respectively 10% in building, and the remaining 9% in agriculture. And this is really based on the latest available technologies using the modeling of least cost pathway to carbon neutrality that are used in many OECD countries to come up with those scenarios to transition to carbon neutrality. And this was underpinned by the work that was conducted by your Ministry of Ecology in the run-up to COP26 while preparing this doctrine for carbon neutrality that is now being translated into a strategy. Kazakhstan is starting. So you're leading the charge vis-à-vis your peers in the region. And as I mentioned, there is some potential still to be proven, to be validated with the latest assessment, but there seem to be some interesting potential for storage. Of course, there is some uncertainty on the potential for usage of carbon as a derivative product for organic or chemical usage in new application. But that said, Kazakhstan has certainly the potential to lead the region